Now, how about them Cowboys? What's going on, everyone? It's time for week number 222 of the NFL 2024 season picks and predictions. Before we get it underway with our choices for week number 2, how did we do last week? How did you guys do last week? As you guys can tell from up here, 11-5. Not terrible, not terrible. There are a couple of small things that bothered me, but overall, I'll take 11-5. 11-5 for week 1. Week 1 is always strange. It's just like the end of the year. Week 1, a lot of teams trying to shake the rust off. We did see a lot of that. But honestly, the biggest upset for me this week was the fact that there wasn't really any upsets, at least as far as I'm concerned. I got only one upset pick technically right, considered an upset. But in my mind, that was always going to be a 50-50 game anyway. I don't know why everyone thought about that particular game, but we'll get right into it. But yeah, as I said, you have two choices. One where you pick a bunch of underdogs in week 1, or you pick all the favorites. I said it in the last video, and lo and behold, I guess I should have picked all the favorites. Anyways, 11-5, not too shabby, not too shabby. But as anybody could tell from a mile away, no matter how close these games ended up being, Kansas City Chiefs, the Super Bowl champions, did defeat the Baltimore Ravens. That was sort of expected, in all honesty. I watched the game. I saw what was going down. Baltimore was holding on pretty good, but they seemed to be a lot rustier than Kansas City. Kansas City always seemed to have a response, and they took a lot less time to get where they were going. You know what I mean? So that was absolutely the truth there. Now, Friday football is not my thing. Friday night just feels wrong. As big as an NFL fan as I am, Friday nights are not meant for football. It's just not in my wheelhouse. So I only watched a tiny bit of Philadelphia they were actually in Brazil, but Philadelphia, Green Bay. And in all honesty, Philadelphia barely squeaked out a win against Green Bay. It is what it is, but I did go with Philadelphia, as we know. Now, this is our first game on Sunday, Atlanta and Pittsburgh. I actually went with the Steelers, as we all know. But everyone said that was considered an upset win because Atlanta was supposed to win by, I think, around 75%. Like, that was the poll markers, you know what I mean? Like, it was, up here, down there. But once again, no matter how much you analyze, it's called Any Given Sunday for a reason. And Pittsburgh won. I thought it was always going to be a close game. It was a close game, and Pittsburgh ended up winning. So I got that one right, but I don't really consider that much of an upset. That was more of a coin flip on who was going to score the final touchdown almost. Then we go up to, it was very strange though. Buffalo was losing to Arizona quite heavily for a long time during this game, but the Bills do end up coming back and winning 34-28. I did pick Buffalo. Arizona looked like they wanted it a lot more than Buffalo did, however. Then, the first game that actually ticks me off, the Tennessee-Chicago game. The only reason being is because this was my major upset. This was going to be the game, the game that made the difference. This and one other game were going to make the big difference, and they had it. All Tennessee had to do was just not screw up in that entire second half. That was a nightmare to see, and even the new quarterback for the Chicago Bears, forget his name, basically said, like, this is not how I wanted to show up. It wasn't me. It was the defense and the special teams that kept us in this game, scored the points, blah, blah. I was not hot out there, and it's like, okay, humble enough to admit that I didn't win this game. I was a detriment. The offense sucked. Tennessee took advantage of this early and could not get through that Chicago defense whatsoever, Absolutely, really ticked off at that one because so many people picked Chicago, and I had a feeling Tennessee was going to do better, and they really did have an opportunity, and they wasted it. So that's the thing there. That one did bother me as far as the 2 o'clock games went. Then Cincinnati losing to New England. Now, there is an upset. That is a 100% an upset. New England beat Cincinnati. Cincinnati looked terrible. New England didn't look so great, but Cincinnati just looked awful. Do you guys think so? I thought so. Cincinnati has got to redeem themselves in my eyes before I, continuously pick them again. I thought they were supposed to be, this is one of our years, we're going to be one of the strongest AFC teams, but didn't see it last week. Then we had Houston at Indy, and even though it came down to the wire, I was kind of concerned about this one because it kept going back and forth a little bit there. Houston always seemingly maintaining a lead, but I only got highlights of that one. I didn't watch that game at all, actually, but because I just had confidence that Houston was going to go in there and win. They did win, but the score would tell you that it was closer than we'd like to admit. Then the big one that was almost an upset, the Jaguars nearly had Miami's number, 20-17, just down to the wire sort of idea. I did pick Miami. I got that one right, but man, oh man, that's all I got to say about that. Like, what is with this? New England gets an upset win against Cincinnati, and Buffalo and Miami both nearly shoot themselves in the foot. I don't know what's going on with that division. Very strange for them. New Orleans absolutely destroyed the Panthers. The Saints absolutely dominated that game. No notes. There was nothing wrong there. Of course, one of my upsets, but this was more of a Hail Mary, was that the Giants were actually going to do something up against the Vikings. I sort of bet on the Vikings getting more of a being rusty. So basically what Cincinnati pulled. Exactly how Cincinnati was playing. I sort of expected Minnesota to be still shaking the rust off a little bit more than they obviously were, and the Giants to maybe capitalize on that. That didn't happen. The Giants sucked, but that was one of my more major upsets to try to get ahead early on in the year. You can take a few more chances in your early weeks when you're in a pool to try to get ahead. Take those long chances. Take those Hail Marys and see if you can make something happen, right? Then I did switch my pick. I don't know if I originally, in the first week video, if I originally had the Raiders picked. I know when I first made my picks, I originally picked the Raiders, but I think I switched it almost an hour later or so to the Chargers. Thank God I did that because, yeah, the Chargers were pretty good and the Raiders were not. That was pretty much expected. So thankfully, the Chargers did win. Seattle did manage to defeat the Broncos. That was another one that was sort of easy to pick. Dallas and Cleveland. I got to say, other than that third quarter, I really like what I saw. I really liked what I saw. Zeke and Dak being back together again has done... Everyone was like, oh, no, he's done this and done that. But Zeke slimmed down. He must have lost 20, 30 pounds on his frame. But, he's sacrificing some of that bulkiness for the speed. He's still really tough. He even got a touchdown and everything. Like, everything was going right. We sort of slacked off. A big problem with Dallas is when we're on fire. And then we say, there's no way they can catch up 30-odd points. And we slack. In the third quarter, we slacked hard. We started to pick it up back again near, the middle of the fourth quarter and stuff like that to secure our victory. But other than that, and Cleveland did not look bad. For the supposed number one defense, and we poked holes in it and stuff, but they started to really tighten up too. I can't give all the credit that, Dallas was just slacking off. No, Cleveland's defense was holding on really, really well, especially in the second half of the game. So, yeah, kudos to Cleveland for a good game, but Dallas, I'm liking what I'm seeing. I mean, as I said, don't let it go to your heads, boys. You clearly did in the third quarter. And look at where it got us. Now the final score being 33-17 instead of what it could have been, which is a much wider gap there. So then we move on to Washington, Tampa Bay. Once again, this was another upset pick that I had, but Washington certainly looked better against Tampa than the Giants did. I picked my whole division. I'm 2 for 2. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. But those were two upset picks that I didn't. They were meant to be Hail Mary attempts. So I wasn't upset to see, all right, those ones didn't pan out. The Tennessee one bothered me because Tennessee absolutely could have won that game and Chicago's offense did nothing to help themselves. So the fact that they lost just, sort of irked me in the side a little bit. And no similar than this game. Oh, the Sunday night game. Watch the whole thing. Down to overtime. Everyone said the Detroit Lions are one of the top 5 teams, if not overall, certainly in the NFC, that they are one of the best teams in the league. They're one of the strongest teams. They're going to come out, and the Rams are just not there. They don't have everyone apparently healthy or something like that. But no, the Rams, they're going to get trounced. It's going to be 3 possessions, easy win for the Lions. And the Rams were winning right down to the very end of the game. It was neck and neck the whole game. The Rams were certainly struggling, but for a team that was supposed to dominate the Rams, I'm not saying the Rams look great. I'm saying the Lions, by comparison, who were supposed to walk in here and get to absolutely destroy the visiting Rams, they looked way worse, in my opinion. The score and the win might be for the Lions, but it was an overtime win from a team that you were supposed to destroy. By everybody's analytical points, that the Lions were going to absolutely destroy the visiting Rams. I picked the Rams. I was upset to see them lose because, once again, nobody really picked the Rams. Would have been a great upset win for me in the pool, and I did like what I saw from the Rams. They were still shaky, but Lions look worse in my opinion. Just saying. And then finally, the last game, of course, San Francisco and the Jets. Did anybody really need to watch it? San Francisco absolutely destroyed the Jets, and that was just to be expected. Not saying the Jets are way at the very bottom this year, but San Francisco is one of the best teams in the league. That just cannot be denied. They are certainly a top 5 team league-wide, and the Jets just aren't. So, that was sort of expected. The fact that they got 19 points, 32-19, is pretty respectable when you consider, unlike the Lions-Rams game, this is the score Lions fans were expecting from their game, and San Francisco at least delivered to their fans. So, honestly, I'm surprised that the gap was as close as it was. I sort of expected it to be a little wider, but it is what it is. So, that was week 1. How did you guys make out with your particular picks? And with that being said, let's move on to their picks for week number 2. Alright, so in my opinion, I'm playing it a little bit safer this week. Everyone's had their first week. Preseason's over. Week 1 is done. Let's jump into our week 2 number picks. For our Thursday night game, it's Miami-Buffalo. Right out of the gate, very hard to choose. Both of them have a win. Both are supposed to be good, but neither one looked very good last week. Who's going to shake the rust off better for week number 2? Well, I was thinking the Bills. Thought the Bills the whole time. Going with Miami, literally for the 3 points at home. I'm just giving it to the home team. In all honesty, I think Buffalo and Miami is right down to the wire. I really do. Then, of course, how about them Cowboys? New Orleans is coming to Dallas. They're coming to Arlington. And I think this is going to... We have a harder schedule than we did last season. But I like that. It's going to keep us on our toes. The New Orleans Saints are a good team. They're a very good football team. And I don't want us to get cocky. It's a big problem when we have a weaker schedule at the beginning of the year. So the fact that we're up against the Saints right now, the ones who scored I believe they had the highest, they scored the most points in week 1 with 42, was it? So, yeah, I want Dallas to go in there and win that. Or they're coming to us. But I want Dallas to, I'm picking Dallas. And I think it's going to be a tough win, but I still want us to win and win handily. So let's go. How about them Cowboys? Then we have in Detroit, Tampa Bay. I really did think about Tampa. I did. Because just because the Lions won against the Rams, that was an ugly win. That was not a pretty win. But I do still think I'm going to give them at least 2 possessions to win the game. So I'm going with the Lions there. I'm also going with Green Bay over the Colts because Green Bay, though they lost their game, so did Indy. But Green Bay were up against, of course, Philadelphia and stuff like that. It was an odd field, lots of stuff, and that was down to the wire against the Eagles too. So we're going to go with Green Bay to beat Indianapolis. This is my real first upset pick. I'm still going because every week I hate picking one column. All the column where everybody's picking, you know what I mean? So I'm going to go with the Titans again. So I think the Titans, hopefully, I want them to learn from their mistakes. I don't think the Jets are that strong. And once again, I do acknowledge it's an upset pick. But most people are going to go with the Jets. Nobody's going to go with the Titans. And early on is when you make these bigger upset picks to try to get ahead. So going with the Titans over the Jets, but I do acknowledge it is an upset victory. Then San Francisco over Minnesota. Though it's a tougher game for San Francisco than the Jets were, I still think San Francisco is obviously a much better team than the Vikings. Let's go 49ers. Seattle over New England. Even though New England won their game, Cincinnati honestly looked like absolute dog shit. So Yeah, I am going with Seattle over New England. Maybe, I could see that kind of going both ways. That's more of a 50-50 game than anything else, but it is what it is there. I am going with Washington over the Giants because, once again, Washington actually put points on the board where the Giants barely scraped away with, 2 field goals? I think that's all they scored. Yeah, in Washington over the Giants. 2 bad teams going head-to-head. You pick the one at home, generally speaking, anyways. Then Chargers over Carolina. Carolina looking like they're in the basement. Chargers being in the middle and wishy-washy like they always are every year. Cleveland over Jacksonville. This is apparently a big upset. I don't know why. Cleveland's number 1 defense did very well in the third quarter, got together and stopped one of the best teams. I'm sorry, yes, I'm a Cowboys fan, but guys, the 12-5, they are a very good team. Cowboys are a strong team, and the fact that they scored 17 points on the Cowboys, kept themselves alive in the game, and managed to stop, such a team where Dak has all his weapons. He's got Lamb, he's got Zeke, he's got Cooks, he's got all these weapons. I'm just saying, Cleveland has a good shot of beating Jacksonville and of being a good team this year. I got faith in the Browns, I really do, so I'm going with Cleveland. Baltimore, Vegas. There's just no contest. I don't know anybody picking Vegas. That would be their Tennessee pick if they're picking Vegas. I'm going with Baltimore at home. Once again, just like with Tennessee, I'm going with the Rams. I got to pick the Rams. They might be on the road against Arizona. Arizona might look better, but the Rams, there's 2 ways of looking at that Detroit and, LA game. You could really look at that game and say to yourself, it was the Lions looking really bad, or they were both rusty, or maybe the Rams are a little bit better than everybody thought. You know what I mean? So I'm honestly saying Rams. Arizona held on to a good strong game last week and stuff like that, but they still ended up losing. The Rams look closer than Arizona did, in my opinion, against a stronger team too. So I'm going with the Rams. I acknowledge it as an upset pick, but you got to put some faith in there sometimes. Then we clean up with Pittsburgh over Denver, Kansas City over Cincinnati, very obvious. Houston over Chicago, no question. And Philadelphia over Atlanta. So those are the picks for week number 2. What do you guys think? And once again, if you wish to play along, just let me know what your picks are in the comment section down below. And we'll go from there. We'll see who wins this week's. I'm hoping to win at least 1 week this year. It's been a while since I've ever won a week. I got close 1 year and stuff like that, but I haven't been doing so well in the pool each year, it seems. But I'm starting off pretty good, trying to be humble about it, but we'll see what happens here in week number 2. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, everyone. And how about them Cowboys? We'll see you guys back here next week. Have a good one.